Okay, so I got some of the wiring out of the way. Now, if you can see inside here, let's see. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect my my motors. I don't want to like break off the prongs. That would really suck. So carefully. It's nice to have little crimp-on connectors so that things stay connected. Okay, so that's out of the way. And now this is, like I said, this is temporary. I'm not even using the normal. I'm not using my normal carriage and everything. This is just a partial in here, which means I couldn't use my normal hubs and all that. I'm just in testing mode here. And I'm running out of battery on the camera, so I better talk fast. All right, so it's just kind of like sitting on this extra thing. I'm going to pull that out if I can. Pain in the butt. Temporary, temporary. Everything needs to get redesigned, of course, because it's like I keep going through all these iterations, and I'm like, all right, well, let me try that. And I'll explain in a minute why this is also real temporary. Here we go. This half-inch, just whatever. All right. Now, if I'm just breaking it. All right, there it is. Ugh. 10 pounds of dual flywheel goodness. Now, each of these is actually not quite 5 pounds. They're like 4 point something, 4.8, 4 3/4. And I just use them temporarily. I'm really going to be designing a real flywheel kind of thing, 3D printed and filled with lead shot, so it'll be heavier. I'm shooting for about, I'd like to get about 3 kilograms on each one of these wheels, so somewhere around 6 point some odd pounds. So they'll have more mass to them. They'll just do more work for me. So let's kind of shift the BB body out of the way a little bit, and look at this. So I've got my familiar carrier, and these things would normally sit in the carriage and shift back and forth, to potentially shift the weight and lean left and right for turning. But they also have the dual flywheel, and that gives it that kind of spin on the spot. So the reason I'm making this video now is I'm about to entirely change this thing around, because the one thing that's a drag, I'm trying to save space in there. And right now, with the orientation of the wheels the way they are, it's not really the best use of space. And what I'm going to do is I have a new version of the flywheel. Hold on just a second. I'm going to take this off. I'll be right back. You can stare at this for a second. Okay, hold on. Some people said they like the informal nature of my videos, so here's about as informal as it gets. This is the new version of that sled, and this has those same, I'm using, I switched over to these Lynx Motion motors. I got them on RoboShop, and they're really cool because they're still 12-volt motors, but they're planetary gear motors. So they're similar to a lot of the motors you get from, not the Econ gear motors from Servo City. There's the HD planetaries and the precision planetaries, and these kind of fall somewhere in between those two. They're bigger than certainly the small planetary gear motors, but not nearly as big as the big honking ones. And I like the form factor is pretty good. Ideally, these are going to even dip down further below, and there's going to be the wheels underneath here, and that's what I'm working on next. So just wanted to let you know I haven't stopped working on BB-8. I've been a little bit slow with the videos. Now that I've kind of got this going, this is the next big thing. So yes, we are able to spin it with 2 flywheels, and now I'm going to do them at a bit of an angle to save more space in there, which lets me make the flywheels actually bigger, more mass, and also spread the mass a little bit out toward the edges of the flywheels, unlike those gym weights, which are kind of even in terms of their mass. So that's the next big thing. Been switching over a lot to these planetary gear motors from the regular spur gear motors. Reason for that, if you've been following on the YouTube page, excuse me, the Facebook page, I don't like spur gear motors anymore. I'm really kind of mad at them, especially the smaller ones, the Econ ones, because I snapped a bunch of teeth off the gear. And the reason for that is, they're basically, each time you gear up, it's really just one point of contact, a couple of teeth on the gear that transfer power and the motion from gear to gear. The cool thing about a planetary gear is that there's basically a sun gear in the middle and then the planets around it. So you have contact with 3 gears on the outside. So you have a lot more teeth, engaged. So it's generally they're a lot stronger in terms of being able to take a lot of torque than the typical spur gear. They also tend to be a little quieter. The gearing is bigger and beefier on them. They're quieter running than a lot of the Econ gear motors. And overall, I like them a lot better. I'm kind of psyched to be using them. I'm switching over to some planetary gear motors. Either might be using the Servo City, the small ones, the 56 RPMs, or I might be using 62 RPM, similar to these. These are 300 RPMs to do my spinner. And with the gearing on these, the way they're kind of set up, I'm going to be doing something neat with the final version of the gearing on here too, or the drive on here too. And we'll get more into that a little bit later. So I do like the planetaries, whether they're the Servo City planetaries, the Lynx Motion planetaries, or anybody's planetaries for that matter. I like the fact that they're going to be able to carry the torque and hopefully not snap any teeth off. So especially in the applications where you're spinning up in one direction and the other direction is important. Okay, so until next time, this is Eric, aka Eraser Mice, here on my Rolling Robots project, and we'll keep you posted. Hopefully I'll have another video in another week or two, a couple of weeks. Kind of a little bit sidetracked with this little thing called my thesis at school. So we'll hope that goes well as well, just kind of kicking off on that. Anyway, that's a long story. Take care, until next time, it's Eric.